Chronicles Abroad. I'm Francis.
And Nubia.
And today we are speaking with the marvelous, funny, talented,
witty,
and beautiful human, Jazzie. Okay, girl. Yes.
Hey now. I think I was gonna say.
So Jazzie, we met Jazzie back in Chiang Mai. Jazzie is the owner of Black Digital Nomad. She's currently based in Da Nang, Vietnam, following her passion as a comedian and motivational speaker, which I'm so proud of you because you put yourself out there, girl, and you're just creating this wonderful, blissful, beautiful life out there in Vietnam. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Finally,
I know, right?
I was supposed to be on. I was supposed to be the very first person on Chronicles Abroad, but they saved the best for season. What is this, 8 now?
Yeah, we
It's
had
fine.
a couple
Patience is a virtue.
We appreciate your patience.
Yeah, we tried. It's all
Always
of
on
our
time.
schedules, right? All of our schedules.
Always on time. Always right on time.
Well, you are finally sitting here, and we are finally chatting. So, Jazzie, we miss you, man.
Yeah, man.
I know. I miss y'all too. It's been so long. It's like
So long.
So, what's been going on? Catch us up a little bit about what's been going on over the last year, because it would be a year.
Oh wow! It's
Yeah.
wow! Really, a year? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In June. I mean, I got here in January. So yeah, I've been here in Da Nang, living and exploring and being present. But yeah, I started doing some comedy, something I wanted to do a long time ago. I got my big toe in it, I guess you would say, in Chiang Mai
Girl,
at
not the big toe.
Steven House. Yeah, we'll get your feet wet. But I just dipped my big toe in. I didn't get it all the way wet. But I did an open mic there. And I've been wanting to, do it, but just kind of on this journey, I've been releasing a lot of fear and insecurities and just kind of going with it. Because I think that's one of the most important things about the benefits of having this journey, or being able to just even do this, really is like actually, taking full advantage of it. So I've been doing that with just walking in my purpose, and comedy and acting is something I've always wanted to do. And it's like, as soon as I said I wanted to do it, the opportunities just appeared, so I was like, oh, okay, well,
That's how
universe is still
manifestation
listening.
works. You have to open
Yeah,
your
it's
mouth.
so amazing. Yeah, I was looking for comedy here in Da Nang, and there was nothing like at all. And a girl popped up in the group that I created for Brothers and Sisters of Da Nang, and was with the show that she was doing here. And I was like, what? It's comedy? Like, I would love to talk to you, because I wanted to do some comedy. I wanted to just do an open mic, and she had 2 comics she was bringing in from Saigon or in some other city. But yeah, she gave me the opportunity to do a 3-city tour with her a few months later, and now we're hosting open mic. And it's just like, yeah, as soon as I said it, I wanted to do it. It was just like, what? And yeah, and that's really unheard of, to get booked for a tour like that with no prior experience. And she's like, oh, do you have a tape? I don't even know if you're funny. And I was like, trust, girl, trust.
All she gotta do is talk.
She said tape. Do we still do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, she didn't ask for a tape because
Yeah,
she's
no.
not freaking 76 years old. She asked for a video, but yeah, tape in honor of my grandmother, tape. So yeah, that's just doing that and exploring and running on the beach and enjoying this beautiful town. It's really what's been going on. It's just kind of being me, same thing, just kind of living, being more visual, I guess you would say, and not letting fear win.
Doing more visibility, and I'm proud of you for just putting yourself out there, because we already know all the magic happens outside of your comfort zone.
It
And
does.
the minute you speak it, and the minute you ask for it, the universe will do whatever it takes to put it in front of you. But you also have to be aware of it, right? You can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so if you have all those fears and doubts, it's really hard to see the opportunities. So kudos to you. We're proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
But I want to take it back a little bit, because you have a really incredible story and that you've been open to sharing, just in regards to inspiring others and being the motivational speaker that you are. Could you share with us a little bit about your background, how you even got to moving abroad? And
Brad?
Yep. I said a bride.
Yeah, a bride, because that's what we are. We're a bride.
I would like people to just enhance my strengths
Right.
You know
My
what I'm
husband
saying?
does
Not
that.
kick
I'd
me
be
while I'm
like,
down and notice
"Please,
all the terrible
please."
things
We
that
knew
are,
what she meant.
you know what I'm
I
saying?
wasn't even, I'm the comedian and I was going to let you go. I
You
wasn't even
know,
going to say nothing.
this
So
one just like,
let's give this woman a stage. Nubia.
My
it's all right.
Okay,
bad.
It's all right.
girl.
We'll edit that
So,
out. Got a lot
like
of
we were
editing to do, guys,
saying
but go
before
ahead.
you so really interrupted, I got the gist of it. Yeah, I guess my story is okay. But back long ago, back in the 80s, I was born
Wait a
and
minute.
Really?
Wait a minute.
You said back in the
Girl,
80s?
we older than you.
Please
that's
don't date
back
us.
last century. Have you written your birthday next to this year? It looks crazy. It's like, what? How many years ago was that shit? Like 1980. That looks fucking crazy next to 2019.
It does,
It
though.
does.
It does. So last century, I was born, and I was born in the 80s, and I emphasize that because I was, impacted by the crack epidemic in South Central Los Angeles. My mom fell on hard times, the pipe, and she was on drugs for a while. And my dad was abusive, but I moved with him when I was 7, and so that was a rough transition. And yeah, I guess in being in high school, lots of um, adversity, just, acting out and fighting and getting in trouble and, identity things and just kind of struggling with mental health and wellness and things. And I guess that led to my adult years being 20 or 19, 20. I left for school at 18 and kind of like wild drinking and gotten a lot of issues and things with that. Binge drinking and things like that. So I just had like a lot of things, experiences in life that were kind of traumatic. And so it just kind of affected my outlook on life and my values and what I found was important and how I handled myself and carried myself. And eventually I ended up going to jail a few times for different things, mostly fighting and drinking or driving under influence. And the last time I actually got a DUI, I served 5 years probation and 15 weekends in 15 weekends in jail, and then 60 days house arrest, and then 5 years probation. So that was a huge chunk of my 20s, and I learned a lot within that time frame, because being on probation or losing your freedom, you learn a lot. And I've never dealt well with rules, but when it comes to legalities, it's different, and you really have to like buckle down. And so I realized that no matter what had happened to me in my childhood, that I was responsible for the decisions that I was making as an adult. And I remember my probation officer gave me some papers, some printed out, some homeless shelters to go live at, because I had moved with my cousin to Delaware out of Philly, which is very close, like 40 minutes away, but legally I could not live out of the state of Pennsylvania. And in that moment, I was like, what? This is crazy. It all happened really quickly, because I didn't even lie. I was just like, hey, yeah, girl, I moved with my cousin. She's in Delaware. Here's the address, trying to be, tell the truth. And she was like, yeah, girl, you can't live outside of Pennsylvania. And she wanted me to go to the homeless shelter like the next day. And I was like, this is fucking crazy. I've been, sober. This was 3 years ago that this has happened. But I realized like, wow, I made a decision that really affected my future and my outcome. And so
Yeah, it affects
at
how you
that
can
moment,
move, the way you move.
yeah, the way I moved, and something as little as like, oh, I'm just staying at my cousin's house 40 minutes away,
Could
is
land you back in
illegal,
jail.
Yeah.
yeah, and I could go to jail for that. So I had like an aha moment and was like, yo, something's got to give here, these choices that you've been making. Yeah, these things have happened to you, but like you're responsible for them, and my mom's not in jail, my dad is not, and I am. And so I decided to change or start to change. And, all the new things people do, they watch Oprah Super Soul Sundays and start drinking
I don't think that
tea,
existed back
caps. And,
then.
that's why I started. And, I read a few books and, just kind
You
of
became an
started to
adult.
adapt a different lifestyle, but just kind of make my aware of what was happening. And I stopped watching Bad Girls Club and different things. Because a lot of, I don't think we realize that we're consuming these things. And so it affects our energy and our vibration. So just kind of cutting out a lot of different things and taking a step back and reevaluating, doing self-inventory on myself. And yeah, it takes years, but I think the moment that we decide that we want to change and take responsibility for our own healing, then,
I think that's
the
the biggest
opportunities
part
are there.
is accountability.
Yeah, it's definitely accountability,
Because you can walk through that for years, blaming and being upset and harboring, right?
hmm
But it takes for a person to understand what accountability looks like, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
painful, but
Yeah.
it's like the most necessary ingredient for change. Like you can't say that you've changed until you take 100% responsibility for all of your actions, because all those decisions have led you to
To where
today.
you are, yeah.
And
Yeah,
people
yeah,
have a hard
yeah.
time making that connection. It's like, why is all this stuff happening to me? I don't know, I'm making all these excuses, but it's like, let's take a look at the pattern and the theme.
And what's the theme? Me.
Yeah, who's the
Yeah,
common
yeah. And we
denominator?
are where we are because of how we think. And so that is so powerful, realizing that it's like, oh, this is why two people can be in the exact same situation and look at it differently, where it hinders one person and it's stepping stones for the next person. And where we are now, we look around, we're like, oh, wow, I'm here because of how I think. Like, I'm not with the bullshit. I want to live my life as easy and breezy as I can. And so I choose to live my life this way now, but it's because of how I think, where other people are like, oh, I can't do that because of such and such, or because of such and such.
Right.
And then that part of losing my freedom, when you say you can't do something and you really can't because like you have a fucking ankle monitor on, or you're like have to go to jail on Tuesday morning, or you're on probation, so you can't go. I wanted to get this job in Afghanistan, and my friend was doing like in the office. She was working in the office, making $100,000 a year tax free, and I was like, wait, what? Like how? I'm down. It's like, well, the perks are like you have to be gone. I'm cool. Like I'll sleep on a cot in the thing and work in the office, but I couldn't because of my I was on papers. So when I was off, I was like, yo, we create all of these mental prisons in our minds saying we can't do something. When you actually really can't do it, you realize how much of the shit that you tell yourself that you can't do. So I was like, yeah, I want to live fully and freely and boldly and bravely.
Got it.
And I gained my freedom back.
So you were a little tyrant growing up. You had to go through.
Like you, yes.
Well, I mean, a lot of us have stories that are very much the same and similar, or
Yeah.
people who are going through that. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily a unique story, as in such as you went through shit that a lot of young adults go through. The
Yeah.
drinking, the making stupid decisions, blah 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 blah, crazy decisions. I won't say stupid, crazy decisions, things like that. So here we go. You're off of probation. Finally, your first day
Ooh,
of freedom.
finally. Woo!
What then transitioned to now saying, I can actually fly, I can actually go, I can actually do something else. So now I'm going to do this. Because, a lot of times, like you said, it's about your thought pattern, right? You could have went through that whole time being upset that you couldn't do something. So when you were done, you could have still just been bitchy about it and been like,
Yeah.
now I can't go,
stuff.
been bitter,
And
money,
resentful.
and using excuses to not leave, right? Because a lot of times people keep
Yeah.
themselves in the prison because, like you said, their thought pattern is what they can't do. Instead, you thought about the things that you can do, and you took a step with that. Let's talk about that portion of how that happened.
Yeah, well, I had my passport already, but I couldn't use it really. I think I said I was able to go like for a weekend or something if I wanted to at the time, but I don't think I left until our first anniversary. We decided to go away just to Jamaica. I'm not just to Jamaica, but to Jamaica.
And you
Um,
introduced we. So we is.
yeah. Oh, my husband. Yeah, our first anniversary, him.
So you had
We
got
went.
married during this time, and then during your first
Whatchamacallit. Yeah,
anniversary.
yeah, and I was going to wait too. That's funny because I said, "Oh, I need to wait until I'm on probation. Don't nobody want to marry a criminal," but ooh, they did. So I did. you know, it was fine. But yeah, we decided to go away. And my aunt was always one that was like, you know, you should go and do something. Always travel if you can, even if you save $1, you know. And this is my friend, my aunt who lives in South Central and really never has money, you know, but goes away and makes these things happen for herself. And she's always been like, you know, just save a little bit and just make it happen. So we did. And it was kind of getting my husband out of the whole thing of like, it's okay to take off a week from work, you know, like, you'll be all right. He's like, no, they may fire me. I'm like, it's fine. Like, you'll get another job then, but let's go. Let's do this. And we did it. And he was so excited when we got back. Like, it was just kind of like a bug. Like, he had the bug. And I remember us landing and getting our bags. And it was like Mexico was on the screen. And he's like, oh, we should go to Mexico next. And I was like, okay, yeah. And since it was our anniversary, we had renewed, like, said our vows again and just said, oh, yeah, let's say that we will go somewhere new every year for our anniversary. And since then, we've lived in a new place every year for our anniversary. But yeah, we just kind of like did that a little bit and was just like, yeah, we can definitely do this. You know, I think with international travel, you really don't know, like you make up these figures in your mind, although you've never done any research. And we all say this a lot, but like you've never looked up a flight, but you're like, oh, you know, it's gonna cost $12,000 or whatever.
And yeah,
it's like,
it's too much money. It's too much money.
That's
Mhm.
that scarcity mindset, right? You know, like you
yeah,
just
and like
automatically
you
like,
don't
oh.
even look right. So once I think you do it and you kind of like figure it out because it can be overwhelming, you know, like getting your passport and then realizing, oh, what a visa really is outside, you know. And then booking flights and booking accommodations. Once you do it, you're like, oh, I can do this.
But at
And
least you had the passport, because some people don't even get that far. To them, applying for a
yeah.
passport is like applying for a job. If they get really nervous,
You're intimidated by the process.
they get intimidated by the process.
Oh, yeah. I mean, me, if I want to do something, I'm just like, yeah, information is out there, you know. And this was even in 2012. So, you know, you look up shit and then it's like, oh, these are the steps. And then, like, you do them. It's not really,
And
I
at
guess,
that
difficult.
time, you know, of course, we had the internet, so that works in your favor. And
And I
people,
wanted to go to Thailand with someone, my friend who worked in Afghanistan. So that was really like the push, like, oh, let me, you know, get this paperwork. And sorry.
yeah, like you had somebody who was already traveling, which helps. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because you had somebody to pay attention to and say, oh, she can do it. Now that I have the, you know, ability to or capability to, I will. And in regards to your aunt is a very smart woman. What she was doing was projecting all of the things that she wished she would have done at your age and say, do it, Jazz. Don't
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like me and stay here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Go beyond what you see.
But
Which
she was
great.
traveling too, so that gave you the
No,
the
her
inspiration.
aunt wasn't traveling.
I thought she just
She
said
said her aunt was from
No,
South
no, no,
Central.
she was.
Oh, she was.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, she was. And that's what I saw, like, even if it was a little bit once a year or something, just seeing her get out of her zone and go travel. Yeah, but she was. She would like spend a summer in London and shit like that, which is like a huge deal from, you know, being
For
in
black
South
folks
Central.
in the
Where are
city.
you going for a summer? Sorry, right in my language. Yeah. So I think it was just that, just the capability. And I was always saying, like, this is what I'm going to do. It's kind of like when you're on punishment, you know, you're like, ooh, when I'm off punishment, this is what I'm going to do for sure. So for me, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I want to do these things. Just wait, just wait. So yeah, I mean, 5 years is a very long time to like, it's super long. And even before then, like 60 days, 60 days of house arrest is a long time. 15, you know, weeks of going into jail is a lot. So just that span, like you have so much time to say like, yo, like these are the things I want to do and I can do them, you know, but I've always wanted to travel. I think
So,
even as a little girl.
so
So
it's essentially it just gave you a new appreciation for your life, like
yeah, that's
you
really, it's
know.
like you get your life back and you're like, this is what I'm going to do with it. You know, when people like die and then they come back, just when you lose something that meaningful and something that so many of us take for granted, you're really able to see like, yo, I can do whatever that I want to do now, you know, like grown. It's like when you're 18, but you're 18 and you don't do really nothing but like, you know, may go get a pair of heels or buy paper towels or something, but like you're not really like grown, like taking your, you know, adulthood by storm. And so yeah, losing my freedom really was like, yo, getting my life back.
So when did you being like nomadic become a thing for you and your husband?
2 years ago, September was 2 years. But I think I was even nomadic before then, being from Los Angeles and moving to Houston and then to Philadelphia and back to Houston, like kind of being able to like go with the flow of things and kind of move sporadically is what most people would think. So, yeah, but 2 years ago we moved abroad and have been kind of, I guess nomadic for the most part. Yeah, we've lived in 4 countries the last two
Within two
years.
years, that's awesome. I think the
Yeah.
hardest part for people that are in relationship is making sure that both people are on the same page, right? So when you guys decided to make a move out of the US, was there teeth pulling on either side, or were you both like, whose idea was it? Like, walk us through that little portion of,
Yeah, yeah, he came home one day and was like, "Yo, are you ready?" And I was like, "Oh, we're moving to Dallas from Houston." But before then, he had some friends that he knew from Houston, from LA, that we followed in Mike and Meg. Uh-oh, sorry. No, the editing. Okay. Mike and Meg were like posting. I think they had left and went to Guatemala or something and was living it, jumping in the lake and shit. And we were like, they were using this hashtag, when are we all going on strike? And I was like, this man is gonna come home talking about he going on strike. And I just knew, like, watching it, and like, I don't know, maybe by the 26th day he was like, hey, like, maybe we should do this or whatever. And he came home just kind of, I think I had a bad day at work and was like, yo, are you ready? And I was like, oh, okay, we're going to Dallas is what I thought. But he's like, no, let's just go to Guatemala or somewhere for a few months. And I was like, I don't know. I just joined this women's circle, where you go and you go to yoga class, or you get massages once a month. And I finally invested in the membership. And I had an event coming up for a brunch. I was finishing my certification as a holistic health and wellness consultant. So I was like, oh, I'll do a brunch, a health brunch. But like 3 minutes in the conversation, I was like, you know what? Yeah, like we can just go after my event. And I'll do my first month, make sure I get my massage and go to the as many yoga classes as I can within this time. And then let's go. So yeah, like 3 minutes in the conversation, I was game.
and that's huge though, because you were already starting with the mindset that many people would do. Oh, I can't because I have this, I have that, I have this.
Oh, right.
Instead
And that's
of,
where it helped, though. The probate. I was like, but I'm also on probation. So, yes, like I
yeah.
can go,
But a lot of people don't take the time out to just learn how to make it work. It might not
yeah,
look the way, you anticipate or somebody has said it, but what I say to people, it doesn't have to be permanent. It doesn't have to be full time. Like you said to
yeah,
your husband, we can go after my event and we can go maybe for a month or two, a couple months or
yeah,
whatever. But you were giving and you were compromising and you weren't setting yourself up for failure to say, well, I can't because I have all this other stuff to do. It's like, no, let me do the stuff that I want to do. We can leave then and then we can come back or whatever. Like
yeah.
that is the message, right? You didn't just
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like, no, no.
definitely. Yeah. And that's again, like we are saying, like we are where we are because of how we think. And so many of us, like I call my cousin, like, girl, you could, you got 7 degrees, use one of them to teach English online, to travel for a little bit. Well, I can't because, and I'm like, what do you mean you can't? Like, how are you saying you can't already with there's 1,000 million ways that you can do things, like there's so many ways to make money. Like
Exactly.
people
Exactly.
make money selling pictures of their big toes. Like there are so many ways to make
Learn
money. And
that
if
big
you
toe
think
again.
like,
I know.
oh, I just love my big toe. We have so, and girl, you would be so proud of me. I've been keeping it polished and keeping it like
I
cute.
like this one.
So yeah, that's definitely the thinking, those barriers we create. And that's what I mean, like the mental prison, and really losing your freedom to where you're like, oh, I can't do things then, and realizing like, no, I can do whatever I want to do. Like there's women all over the world. Like I'll create a circle and drum with some real Mexican abuelas in Mexico in a women's circle, and that's what I did. Or go here and do it. So you realize like there are things everywhere, and it doesn't end in our neighborhood. I think you're like, oh, I have to do it here, or I have to raise my kids here, or I don't have children,
Just
so
I
that's
have to
different
do
reason.
this.
But
Just
yeah,
take
it's
that
like we
out.
don't have to. Well, they always told me growing up, you ain't got to do, but stay black and die. So other than that, like I've never felt like I had to do anything. Like I ain't got to do nothing except for when I was on probation. Like I had, but even then, like I didn't even have to. I would even say, like, girl, you could go for a run. You could really go to Mexico. But then I would live with
You would
that
have been
whole like,
A
a
fugitive.
fugitive.
fear. Yeah, future. It was a few times where I was like, F this, but I've always been like, face the music. You do something, you take accountability for it, you face it, and then it's over. Versus me dragging that out and it being worse. It's like face the music,
Yeah.
and then life goes on, and you appreciate life so much more when you just take responsibility for what you've done. So
So you went to, so you were in Mexico. What other countries?
yes.
I mean, you're now in Da Nang, and
Well,
we
y'all
met you in
chose
Thailand.
Mexico instead of Guatemala, right? Was that your
Yeah, we
first place?
did. Yeah. We were going to go to Southeast Asia first, but we decided Mexico after finding out about the visa, and we had heard about Playa. It was fairly new at the time. Cost of living, and it was like the water, and I was like, okay, that sounds good. Because
Okay.
Guatemala was very like, remote and
Rural,
things.
yeah.
And yeah, and so I was just like, whatever, like, okay, start taking cold showers, turn the air off. I don't know what we're going to get ourselves into, but it was fine. It was like an upgrade
She's
instead.
like,
So Mexico,
I'm your
Bali,
body,
why
you my Clyde,
no?
let's go.
Let's go, let's go.
That's
Bali,
what
we
my
went to
queen
Bali
love.
for a while, but the internet was just, I didn't love Bali, but it was nice to visit. And then we went to Chiang Mai, Thailand. Yeah, we were in Thailand for about 10 months, and
Yeah,
now we've been here in Da Nang almost a year now. Wow, that time flies.
it
That's
It
does.
does.
crazy. The last time I saw you guys was a freaking year ago
I
Almost a
almost.
know.
year ago. Yeah, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. But, in 2 years, you guys have floated now a little bit through Latin America, Southeast Asia. I know you're in Da Nang right now. Have you guys talked about where the next location may be?
No, I'm being present in the moment right now.
Good to
Like Da
hear.
Nang is happening, and I've gotten out of that like nomadic mindset of not being nomadic enough and feeling like I need to go here and here and here. Um, but yeah, just being present in the moment and realizing the opportunities, because that's what happens too. Like things just start striking for me, and then I'm like, oh, I'm out. I'll leave, as if I'm like a thief in the night or something with this grand exit, not realizing that like there's still work that you can do here. So, no, I'm just here for now. We're here in Da Nang.
That's awesome. Because
Yeah.
we were just talking the other day how like being travelers, we kind of get on our own cases about like we should be like traveling around. Even me being here in Mexico, like I'm just chilling. Like I don't need to see everything. I'm still an
Yeah,
introvert.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm like, can
Right.
we go home now? Like you know what I mean? My
Right.
feet hurt.
It's that
You know.
part and
And
realizing
when she
that.
hits the door, I'm like, let's go. I'm like, I want to show you the city. And then we just been like cooped up. And I
I'm
felt bad
saying
because I was like,
this part, right. The house is the city. Being inside is a new place.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So it's like you don't have to abide by certain, expectations or anything like that of like being a traveler. Like you could
Yeah, yeah.
literally do it as, the way that you want to do it. But it's
Right,
like that whole
exactly.
lifestyle design thing, and it doesn't have to be anyone else's opinion or anything like that.
true. Like I still have that nomadic life, I guess you would say, where I'm just like, okay, this is cute. This has been fun. What's next? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
a lot of it, you have your significant other. I'm single, so I can float a little bit more easily. So just it looks different.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it just
And
looks
then we
different.
have passions too, like me wanting to be somewhere and perform, like, is a passion of mine. I'm pausing so the edit, you catching that? The pause? Okay. So, yeah, I think being somewhere where you're doing what you love is like amazing,
And I'm
for
glad
me.
you said
So it's
that because
like I feel fulfilled
I was
versus
just about
that's
to say
like,
that. Yeah, you must
what's
be
that
next
fulfilled.
is like, what's next is here, or going to another city to perform, where those opportunities are presenting themselves too. But yeah, having this space and grounded to even think and create is amazing right now.
And I'm glad you highlighted that. You used the term passion because, we try to say all the time, do what you love. And I know it sounds so cliche, but it's the truth, and where your passion lies is where your happiness is. So it makes sense that I am consistently nomadic because my passion is travel, right?
Yeah.
And my passion is sharing my experiences. So I go out and I experience just so I can share it. So that makes sense. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
I'm more along the lines because, the thing I think people get caught up with, like, follow your passion, and people are like, well, what the hell does that mean? And I remember watching something from Elizabeth Gilbert, and she was she used to preach, follow your passion all the time. But then she realized what she really meant was, like, follow your curiosity. Like, what are you curious about? I think often when we become adults, we just forget to be curious about things. Like, we're like robots, like, what happened to that curiosity? Because you were curious about what would it be like to live abroad, and then curious about creating that women's circle. Then all that curiosity led you to where you are now. And now that you're there, now you're like traveling different cities and like, what would it be like to perform in front of this crowd, that crowd, and over here and there. So it's like, allow that curiosity to transform, allow that curiosity to take place, because you don't know what you might discover, and that's like the fun part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what's been so amazing with this journey, is that even with me trying to like take a step back from my brand and figure out really what I want to do again, because it's like, I think it's like, I don't want to do fucking articles about what coffee shops to fucking visit. First of all, coffee gives me fucking anxiety. Pardon my language, I keep forgetting. But
me too.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna like show people what hotel this. Like, I don't give about any of that stuff. Like, I don't care about it. But being online, I'm like, this is what's gonna drive traffic to my site, and this is what I need to. An audience, our audience. It's like, who's this audience that I'm talking to? Like, I'm losing myself trying to produce things for my audience when it's like, I'm my audience. Like, what do I want to see when I look at myself in the mirror? It's like, I want to be someone who's brave enough to get on stage and try to make people laugh, or get on stage and act and cry or whatever. But we get so caught up in this, like, or what other people are doing. Like, you're like, my passion is actually traveling and sharing my experiences, right? And like, then I'm like, let me try to share more of my experiences. So I'm like trying to take pictures of fucking, coconut coffee, and it's like making my heart race. And I'm like, why? I'm in the bed at 10:30. Like, why did I drink that coffee and post it on Instagram? So now I'm really like getting back into my true self. Is all I'm saying now. It's like just that passion or whatever it is, or curiosity about things. And
it's funny.
I'm not curious about these fucking coffee shops. I don't care.
It's funny that you said that, because when I first traveled, I was called Mama on the Move, right? I was gonna be Mama on the Move. I was gonna write about like you said, the best restaurants on Copanad, because that's the island that I stayed at when I first moved abroad.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, I don't want to do none of this. I don't.
And then it starts feeling like work.
Enjoy.
Then you beat yourself up about not doing this shit you don't care about.
I don't enjoy writing about the best places to live or anything like that. Doesn't. Yeah. So I had to switch it up a little bit.
It doesn't have to look like everybody else.
Right. So
yeah.
I had to look
at myself. It's
not about
and find out. It's been a healing experience, is what I'm finding out. I'm like, it's not about these coffee shops. It's been about tapping into like my true self and having time to, and energy also, to go after what I love, and like getting through things that keep your confidence down, like those kind of things. It's easy to be like, when I'm doing this, I'm going to do this. But until our self-esteem is up, and until we feel good about ourselves, and until we're not beating ourselves up constantly, like, we're not going to do any of those things, So this journey has really been about pulling back layers and healing and being present and, zen, and really even having that time. Like, I spend 4 hours, 5 hours every morning, like self-development. That's meditation and sitting and reading and doing yoga and farting good, like just really, girl, it's good. Because at work you hold it in a lot, and that's not good for you. We'll be around people too damn much. Like, I can't fart good. It's like, get some alone time. Yeah. So yeah, going to yoga and like running on the beach and just sitting and journaling. It's just been amazing. And I think that's what these things have really been about. And it's not like, I mean, it's great to see all these new places and experiences, but I'm really about like just healing all of these layers and things and sending my mama the bill for my therapy. Cause I'm like, you know what? You definitely paying for this shit. Cause I didn't do this stuff to me, you know, like you need to pay, you get this bill.
You know, but the
Thank
great
you,
thing about
BetterHelp.
it, the theme that I'm hearing throughout this entire interview is self, right?
Mm-hmm.
Self reflection, self analyzing, self treat, like just taking care of self, you know, and
Yeah.
what that looks like. And I think that's so important because we lose that a lot.
Yeah.
Airplane, sorry.
Oh, all right. Thought you was about to cry. I'm like, ooh, this is getting good. We got this Oprah.
That is hilarious. Yeah, we lose a lot of self. And we don't know, we don't realize that sometimes, you know, the working the 9 to 9, I won't even say 9 to 5, right? Because it takes you 2 hours to get to work. You work for those 8 hours and 2 hours back home. You're gone for a good 10 to 12 hours out of your day. You know, you don't really have a sense of self. The stuff that you like, the stuff that really fuels your fire and feeds your soul. And a lot of times I see people getting lost in that rat race. So it's great when you take a moment and you're able to reflect on self, whether you have to sometimes take that moment back, right?
Yeah.
Meaning if you get up at 8, maybe you need to get up at 6, you know, so that you have that alone, quiet time, you know, because not everybody's journey looks like ours. You're not all
Right.
going to get up and move abroad to find self, you know what I mean? But you can
Right, yeah.
reclaim your time by getting up a little earlier, taking that time by yourself, sitting with it, really looking at the people and everything around you and start evaluating what works for you.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
what doesn't.
everything starts with you. I mean, it just,
Yeah.
it doesn't work the other way around. And when you start living in your truth, like you have been, it impacts people and then it bleeds out and impacts people in a positive way. Not to say like the top 5 coffee shops isn't helpful, you know, it's helpful.
Yeah,
you know
I mean,
what I
I
mean?
read those type of articles.
You know,
all the
I look
time.
for it too when
For
I'm
those
traveling.
people that like that stuff. Those people that are called to do that. Thank you,
Yeah.
guys.
But I
Get
think
to the point, though.
yeah,
Just
but I
get to
think
the
the real
point.
message is, you know, living from a place that is true to you 100%
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
Because then I feel like everything else will follow in line once you start doing that.
But you know,
And that's
it
for the mental
sounds,
clarity, too.
but it sounds easy, right? But it's really not.
It's not easy.
Discovery is not easy. You understand what I'm saying? Discovery is not easy. It takes so much, and it's a constant evolution. So it's not like, Eureka, I got the idea, this is what I'm gonna do, blah blah blah. It's like, no, it starts with a step, and once you take
Yeah.
that step, then it leads to a new step, and it continuously moves. And sometimes it doesn't move the way we thought it would look like. And I keep saying that because everybody, I believe, you know, thinks that our lives as nomads is just completely a life on the beach, and that's just that. And it's like, no, we created those steps to be able to do that, but it took for us to get there. You get what I mean? Like, they don't all the time see the steps that it took to have to do that. Or like, Jazz, you know, you and I used to talk about struggle money. You know what I mean? Like, you know, having to do, and then it was finally, you got to a point, I remember you saying to me, you was like, I'm going to quit teaching online because I need to now just deal and go with my passion, go with my gut, go with my intuition, and do what I want to do, right? So
Joe went back though, like, yeah, passion need coins. So you been passionate and hungry, girl. You passionate and cold, okay? You know you like to eat. So yeah, I did go back. So I am gonna say that. But yeah, that's what I was feeling that day. And I did quit, yes.
That's what I love about you, Jazz. You just like, listen.
But at least you had a thought, and whether or not you have to go back,
You explored it.
You explored it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And
And
that's
then
the
you
whole,
get your job back and you're like, oh, I'm grateful I get to teach, because you realize, oh, this still gives me the opportunity to do this, to work in the evening so I can spend 4 hours on self-development. Like, you know, so changing our mindset sometimes and looking at things. And also, I will be really honest with you with that. I was feeling at the point, I was online all the time feeling like, whoa, why am I not making 100K coaching? I need to be doing this. I'm not teaching, I'm going to coach. first of all, you're not even organized enough. Like like maybe you should put stuff in your calendar first and not miss appointments first before you try to call. So I'm like getting all caught up online and social media saying like, oh no, I was feeling like a failure almost like, and I had to step back and like people email you asking you, how do you do this and how can you teach and how, I'm like, yo, this is an opportunity I have to talk to people with no pants on and they don't know and talk to kids and and they love it and like you're working from home. And I was like, wow, I had to just shift my perspective and take a step back and stop comparing myself to people online,
Amen.
that I feel are making all of this freaking money. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. I'm not I'm not posting enough. I'm not lit. And it's like, F all of that. Like, that's why if you step back and just be present in your real self, you're like, oh, I don't even care about that shit. Like.
I think part of that too is like not judging yourself and learning to not judge yourself, because everybody's on a different journey. And even if you're looking at those people online, we don't see the back end of what they have done or how long they've, been doing whatever they've been doing. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, we recently interviewed a house sitter, but she's been in the game for like 4 years, and it's like, and it's starting to like really blow up. But you can't tell that.
Years, yeah.
You can't tell that.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like, you can't judge yourself in the process. And it's okay if you try this and you went back to this, but like you said, reframe it. It's like, okay, how can I look at this as an opportunity? And how can I look at this in a way that allows me to do the thing that I really want to do? And that's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay.
Yeah, and then that part is like, yo, this allows me to do these things that I really want to do. Like, I have time, and then I have these kids give me mad jokes. I'm like, yo, I'm getting mad sex from these kids. Like, and they're paying me. It's great. So it's really shifting. But a lot of it is observing too, like just observing our thoughts, because we can get so wrapped up in like our mind and like the thought trickles down and here it is. And that's how I like end up quitting Outback to go be a stripper again and then lose, everything, it spirals so quickly. And it's from like getting caught up in my thoughts and our emotional mind instead of being able to say like, oh, that's a crazy thought, girl. That was I could have said at the computer that day, like, girl, that's a wild thought. You go, but I let that thought take me back to something and like, so a lot of times it's just observing and just saying like, well, that's crazy, but I'm not.
A lot of times it's trying. You have to try.
Yeah.
And if you don't try, you won't know.
And this is all this experience too, years of wisdom. Like we all got grace. So now it's like, but
you did the work, so doing the work allows you to be able to observe when you're spiraling, right? You can say,
that part
there
too.
you go,
Everyone
girl.
doesn't have to quit Outbacks after to go strip. You quit 3 years ago. Why are you going back? And like things happen so quick. That's how I ended up getting my DUI and all this other stuff. So I'm grateful now to see the experiences, but that was 10 years of experience that I could have just been like saved by saying no, because I still would have traveled because it's me, but. I'm still grateful because I'm a pimp the pain. It's still, we don't all have to go make those horrible decisions like that.
A lot of us still have that American mindset that we want instant gratification.
Yeah.
And like Francis said, we don't always see the backstory for people and how long they've been doing the work that they've been doing. We only see the immediate results.
Yeah.
So we intend to look at people and go, oh, like you said with your friend was making $100,000 and she was living in Afghanistan and doing whatever. You're like, I want to do that too. But really, did you really want to live on a cot? You just really
right. And she had already done military time in Europe. You like compared. I'm not built for this shit. I wouldn't have been. I thought I would have, but that was from my comfort of my home. And I'm Skyping you. Everything looks great from there. Exactly. I can't see your background now. I don't know where y'all are, but it looks beautiful. So
well, thank you, ma'am. Why, thank you. So tell us, you've also been writing a memoir.
Yes, girl, for the longest. But it's a memoir, and I'm not rushing myself anymore. But yeah, it's called Probation to Passports, and it's my journey and what I thought was like, oh, this is like this is how you travel. And this really has been about mental illness. I'm like, girl, you've been crazy as hell your whole life, so it's really like. I really had to stop. I stopped writing at one point and got a therapist because I was like, yo, like,
a lot of stuff.
This is a lot, and so it was like, okay, wow, this explains a lot of your moods and things. So, and that tick. So I really stopped and I got some counseling and I'm still writing now. But it's just really about stories. It's a collection of short stories of things I've gone through and kind of what I learned from them. And it includes humorous, stories of really just choices I made and where they have landed me. So it's really the contrast of making decisions then and now and like the difference of them
That
and how we can change
development,
our
yeah.
lives. Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. So you're doing stand-up comedy. You are about to be an author. Are you still doing BD? What is it? Black Digital Nomad. I was trying to get the acronym together, and I just
Oh, BDN,
You
yes,
know
yes.
that
I've
aging.
been on I think the soccer team won or something. They've been like making all this noise on the street more than usual. Yeah, I've taken a step back from social media right now. I've been on a break, a detox. It started as 21 days and now it's going into the second month and I'm feeling like, oh my God, amazing. I want to do a TED Talk. I see why there's so many TED Talks about not being on social media. Um, so yeah, I'm still doing that, but I really want to change. Like, for the 2020, I'm figuring out how I'm gonna come back with branding because, again, I don't want it to be about coffee shops and stuff. I really want it to be about like this journey and like learning yourselves and different modalities, and Zen and just kind of like, yeah, like I think as Black people, removing ourselves from the places that have harmed us, and whether that's America or your parents or wherever, but just kind of like nomading your life of just kind of moving around and realizing that we're not a tree and we don't have to be stuck. So I'm just kind of playing with it a little bit to make it more authentic and not what I think it's supposed to be when I think of Black digital or digital nomad. Taking that definition is kind of I've gotten lost in it. And then I feel like, oh, I don't want to do it. And then and
It
so
feels
it's
like work.
like,
Yeah, it's not fun.
yeah, it's not
It's
fun. And
definitely
it's like,
fun.
oh, it's not fun because you've made it this job of something that you don't really, it's not those things. And at the end of the day, the mission is the same. Like, I want people to hear these different stories and be empowered to change their lives and, go after their healing, whatever that is for them. So I think that's what it really is about. And still, helping people who want to become nomadic or change their mindsets, but really focusing on what is really important to me, and it's not fucking coffee shops and things to do. I mean, but I got friends for that, like Nubia and great, love to share. But yeah, really focusing on the comedy, my speaking career this year for 2020, and my goal is 20 shows in 20 cities, and that's yeah, different speaking engagements, but really comedy. Yeah, just going to give myself a year to just go all in,
Love it.
because what I've noticed is I manifest things and that's just speaking them very, like, just little, a little bit. So I was like, damn, if I just go hard in the paint, what could manifest from that, from really like putting the work in? But yeah, yeah, keeping it real, so I can heal is what I've been
That's so
doing.
cute. I love it. I love it. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to perform in Vietnam. Are you like in front of Vietnamese crowd? Like, what is that
Oh,
experience
yeah, it's
like?
been great. It's actually been mixed crowds. And I have a show in Hanoi at the end of the month, and then Ho Chi Minh City at the beginning of next month. But I've done Da Nang and Quay and Hoi An, and it's interesting because there's a lot of expats, but there are Vietnamese people as well, Vietnamese. And so I have to tailor it to really like expats, but also just I've noticed telling like general stories. Like I did a set recently about my grandmom and it's been doing very well. And so I think those are things that are relatable because whether you're from Vietnam or Turkey, you have a grandmom or you had one or she had to be somewhere at some point. So I think just kind of realizing like how many things are relatable, and staying within that. But yeah, I can work a crowd, so you guys know I'm fine.
I
It's
know,
good.
girl.
I know you crack us
Good.
up.
But it's been going very well. So yeah, if I'm in a crowd with a lot of expats, I tell some expat jokes and stuff. But just being relatable is really what works best.
And
But
that right there, everything that you're saying, I keep hearing these keywords, is like self, goals, and then, you just said relatable. I think that that's the most important part is making sure that your brand relates to you, right?
yeah,
And it might not relate to the mass audience, but there's going to be an audience that relates to. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So being
And focusing
relatable.
on that, yes, the
Ex-
real
the
thing.
real
Yeah.
you.
If it's three people that are watching, it's like
Exactly.
those three people don't matter. If I'm one of them three people, I matter. So like show up for
Exactly.
us anyway. Yeah.
And that's the not comparison, right? Like not
Yeah.
comparing you to the next person that has a platform like this, and why do they have X, Y, and Z followers? Because a part of your journey is also learning yourself, right? So the self
Yeah.
discovery,
Yeah.
and then you find out, okay, I don't move the way other people move. And, if I try to move the way other people move, I'm now restricting myself because I'm doing
And
something that's
losing
not keeping
stuff
me
because I
fulfilled.
need to slow down. Yes.
Exactly. And then when you learn to be authentic in yourself and you're just like, but this is the way I move and I'm just going to do it authentically, you'll realize you have a whole different network of people that support you in the
Yeah.
things that you do. And that's been, I've noticed that about myself. I say all the time, bloggers write about all the glamorous parts about it, but here I am being very transparent about like what I go through, right? So a lot of
Right.
times
Right.
people are like, oh my God, thank you so much for being so transparent, because nobody else is sharing the shit.
Right.
So I get it about being relatable and stop trying to fit in with everyone else because
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, especially with comedians, you have to be relatable, right? Because we all,
Yeah.
like you said, we all have a grandma somewhere. We've all had a breakup. You know what I mean? Some
Right.
of us have been married or whatnot. So it's like speak to the crowd and speak to them in a way that they can connect with you and they will love you, essentially.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but it's been awesome. Just the fact of being here, being from LA, where that's where people go to make things happen for themselves, and going around the world and being able to do different things has shown me really that like no matter where I am in the world, I take myself, and that I already have everything that I need to, accomplish everything that I want to accomplish. So a lot of times, like, oh, I got to be in this city to make this happen and make this. And it's like, you are wherever you go. And like the universe, it's like, oh, I thought like it only heard me from like LA or like New York, and it's like,
Nicely,
it worked
right?
out here too. You'd be like, oh, I still hear you. And I didn't even have to like tell it where I was or anything. Like, yo, we over here now. It's just, it hears me. So that part has been very eye-opening for me to know that like no matter where I am, at least for this, and there's something like comedy, like where there was no comedy in Danang at all, and there's been show after shows now, and yeah, it's just to show you that like just speak it, ask for what you want, and you don't have to see it, because that was a thing too, like, oh, that place is not as popping as Chiang Mai and blah blah blah, and yeah, you can just say what you want, and yeah, just believe, and it happens really. I
You're
know
the
people are like, oh, that
epitome.
hoop blop, the bloop blop, that they talk, but I guess we be telling the truth because we're living the lives that we want. So
Yeah, you're the epitome of like manifestation of not allowing fear to hold you back and working with fear. You're doing everything
yeah,
scared, and you're
you have
like,
to, you
you
have
just
to
gotta
work
do
with
it.
it. You have to become your friend, and that's the thing. I was trying to like fight it for so long, and like if you try to fight it, it's like windmill, South Central windmill on fear does not work. It has like Muhammad Ali blows, and so if you're trying to fight against it, you just have to like go with the flow. Like, yo, okay, I'm on fear side, but I'm gonna do what I want to do
And you got to
anyway.
be okay with the consequences, the outcome of it, right? Because whatever the outcome is, you have now the next ability to make change. So,
Yeah,
because the fear of it not working out, the fear of getting up on stage and there be only one person, it's so you have to be okay with that and say, if there's only
yeah.
one person, I'm gonna make that one person crack up and pee just a little
And
bit. You
if
get
they
what I
don't
mean?
laugh, you still like you get it anyways, because it's
Yeah.
like, and then I think that's what it is. It's getting we get too caught up in the outcome when that's not even it anyways. It's like, to me, it's like gifting something. Like if I go out and if it's not Christmas or anything like that, because that's when I get anxious and like. But if I see something that reminds me of Francis, and I'm like in Bangkok and I see it, and I'm like, oh man, like she'll love this, like, and I get it. And I'm like, oh, can you wrap it like this? And remembering all the joy that I feel like when I saw the thing and when I told them to wrap it and when I bought it and when I gave it to you, and then like whether you love it or not. I have to remember like the joy I felt with finding something that reminded me of you, right? And then giving it to you and not saying, oh, when my birthday comes, she better give me this or whatever. So sometimes we get wrapped up too much in like the outcome of it, not realizing like the joy is in me sitting in like, that may be funny, writing it down. You know, like the nervousness that I get before performing, and then listen to Nipsey Hussle, you know, and like all of that is like, it's fun, you know, and then up there, it's like, I'm still get this feeling that I get when I'm on stage, regardless if it's one person there or it's full. So that part, remembering like that is the journey, is like the action and not the outcome, because we can't control that part either, you know? So, and if we're doing it for that, it's probably not really what we want anyway. So yeah, just remembering like it's all part of it, and discovering all of this part, you know, I think with us too, we're like, oh, what am I going to do next year or whatever, realizing that all of these stepping stones are getting us there anyway. So again, being present in the moment, I think is the most important thing.
Preaching us this morning, I feel like I can do anything. Woke up this morning, I feel like, wow.
You woke up. That part is amazing. I'd be like, yo, this is real. Like, I'm here, you know, like, this is a gift and gratitude, a chance to like, I mean, and gratitude for everything. Like, again, I think that's what we should do. Drink every time I say big toe while y'all are listening to this, but being grateful for like your big toe, your thumbs, your limbs, like your head, like everything, you know, like, wow, I can grab things. The lights work. You know, these are miracles.
Well,
being able to get them inside.
They don't tap into it until they no longer have it, right? Like you mentioned the big toe a lot, but a lot of people don't understand that the big toe keeps you stable. You get what I'm saying? If you don't have the big toe, it's very difficult to walk.
Your toes down, just like your thumbs. Exactly. Like, try to not use your thumbs.
You can't grab, you can't hold, you know? But people don't really realize until they no longer have it. So, you know, practicing gratitude is necessary in your life because it helps change and shift the perspective. You know, it's like, oh, I'm sick. No, I'm not feeling well, but I'm still able to conduct this interview. I'm still able to...
and I'm recovering as you're sick. You're still recovering. Yeah.
It could be worse, you know, that I could be in a hospital. So you think about the things that, you know, matter the most, which are the blessings that you have. And they're so minuscule the way we think of them, but they're so big in that big scheme of things.
They're huge. Yeah. Lose them and see how much these things matter. You're like...
Well, I believe that, you know, and I used to think I was like grateful, and I realized back then I really wasn't, because I'd be like, oh, I'm thankful, but I wish I had da-da-da. There was always this but, right? But now that I've really experienced like gratitude for real, for what it is, it really helps you shift your energy. So I feel like whenever I'm feeling like a little bit of dip, you know, I go through that gratitude game, that game of appreciation, because it definitely just kind of like brings your energy right back up.
Yeah, you're like, yo, hey.
Yeah, and then you start feeling better a little bit. You know
do.
What I mean?
It's like, but thoughts is like, it changes our cells. Same if you start thinking, like, I learned the power of our thoughts when I had to pee one day. I was like trying to get in the house, and I really, really had to pee. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to pee on myself. Right? And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to make it to the bathroom, right? And as soon as I said that, guys, like my whole body, like, calmed down. My bladder was like, okay, we got time, girl. And before then, I would pee on myself a little bit. Just not a lot, but a little bit I would pee on myself. And I was like, yo, let me shift it. And it worked. And I was like, yo, this really works. And then I would be cold. I'm like, I'm warm. I am warm. I'm warm. I'm warm. But as soon as I'm like, I'm freezing. Ooh, my lips start, my bottom lip is shaking. It's like my body is getting colder. And it's like, yo, this shit is like,
it's real.
It's real. It's so real.
But I just want to highlight, like, you started with something small. I think a lot of people like want to jump to like the big stuff. You can't vibrationally.
Who manifested $1 and then call me back? I'm like, you know what?
If you're not vibrationally aligned, it's hard to jump to the big stuff. So it's like doing the little small stuff. Like, I'm thankful for having that warm tea this morning. Like, that was really good. Right. You know, felt good. So just like, I always go back to the micro acts. You know, and that's a micro act of gratitude. So
yeah, those breadcrumbs really make a huge difference. Yeah, and it's shifting, like, and then if you see it work a little bit, then you can believe it, because a lot of times you'll say like, oh, I'm happy, I'm grateful, and you're not, and you know you're not, and you say it one time, and all those other grateful thoughts are like, girl, we're not grateful, your baby daddy acting up, and so you are really going after that thought, and because you believe that more, right? You know that he's not, so. if you're thinking, like, whatever you believe wholeheartedly, you know, if you say it one time, I didn't used to believe the affirmations or believe the things I was saying, but I said them enough and said them enough, and then I started to believe them, and then I started to feel them, and I was like, oh, wow, it's like, it takes time. Same as all the abuse and the mistake or all the negative thoughts, they came overnight because as babies and shit, babies love themselves. They're so like, you know, like they don't even know if they're ugly or not. Like, it's none of that stuff. Like, they don't know.
First off, no baby is ugly. Let's just
Exactly.
stop it, guys.
But
There might
no
be one or
baby's
two
ugly.
out there.
But somebody may think that that baby is ugly, right? And then say, that is an ugly baby. And then the baby may say, oh, wow, now I'm ugly. But the baby had no idea what ugly was before it knew what it was.
But that's the
so,
power of words.
It's just, yeah,
can't
but like
feed people
if you tell the baby enough, he's gonna believe it, right? Like, oh, he's ugly, even if he's not, or if he's cute, whatever you tell the baby is gonna believe. So whatever we're telling ourselves enough, you know, we have to go over it again and know that like 30-minute meditation, or it don't even be 30 minutes. People meditate for 5 seconds and then talk about, oh, I'm gonna have a course on meditation. Oh, I'm gonna take a picture and say I'm meditating. And then they're like, meditation don't work. Of course, because you're not doing it right. Or they do it once and think like, oh, it didn't change my life. But it takes like years. We've all been doing this work for a long time. Like, it takes years. Like, years. Like,
I've been doing it for 3 years.
I'm like, look at the Twitter from 2012. If you just scroll down and then you may see like, oh, she may be becoming more mentally stable now. Okay, maybe she's not anymore. You know, but like, it wasn't like out the blue. I'm like, hey, y'all, new Jazz is here. I didn't even know new Jazz was even going to be new, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for 3 years, and I'm still like, am I doing this right? Like, is it working? I don't, you know, but I know it
doesn't
is.
matter, just keep doing it.
You just keep doing it. I feel different.
And then when we don't do it or we relapse or old ways, old ideas come up, then we're sometimes they're like, oh my God, I'm a horrible person. I'm the same way. And it's like, no, you're not. She, you know, came out a little bit, but like, you know, tuck her back in and continue to go. But she's not out all the time anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's just a lot more is being gentle with yourself. You know, it's so many different layers to this. You know, we can speak about manifestation, the law of attraction, the power of your words. It also works on the flip side. People have power when you allow them to put power into your life. So if people are speaking negative around you, to you, about you, or whatever, if you take things personal, that's going to then shift what you're trying to do and make it not good. You know what I mean? So you have to learn now the power of letting go, right? And also learning not to take things personal. I mean, there's just so much to this. People.
Work is deep.
Work is deep. It's
so
not
deep. It's like chapters of it. It's not one thing. And some people are like, what did you do, girl? And it's like, you got a post-it note. It's like, you know, you need a recorder. You need a lot. It's not, you can't write this shit on a post-it note.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, like, you're never going to arrive. If you're looking for a place that you're never going, it's not going to happen.
We're still on this journey. Like, I still don't know shit. I've been talking for all this time, y'all. I still don't know what I'm talking about. I still don't know.
It's a learning every day is a learning process. Like, I spoke to a cousin of mine who was just like, you know, how did you do it and stuff? And I'm just like, I created it for myself. And I was like, I made decisions, right? And she was like, so you just telling me that all you gotta do is start making, and I'm just like, yeah, but don't get me wrong. With the decisions comes blah 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 blah. Like,
I'm gonna tell you the thing. They want the like, okay, you did that, but I want to take a pill and do it and get the same results from a pill. Like, what are these things that I entered in this capsule and it doesn't work that way?
Work that way. And
even though you can do the same way and not end up like
in the same position. So, and it's weird because people, like you said, they think that, you know, we have all the answers. And it's like, do you understand that every day that we wake up, we're learning something new? You know what I'm saying? We're learning as we're going through. I didn't have the game plan written out before I left. I learned a lot of it along the way. So journey is just that. It's a journey. You know, it's something that you're learning through the process. You get what I'm saying? So it's great that we are able to articulate now as adults because we're adulting, right? Because when you're not in the right mindset,
I know adulting's hard.
Adulting is not
as easy as
people think. You know,
like, I couldn't wait for this shit. Like, what?
So silly.
Like, I remember spending my paycheck on tennis shoes and my cell phone bill, like, and that's it, like, and pretzels and shit, like.
Yeah, right. You never really
Crazy.
thought about what adulting looks like because you never fucking adulted. So once you start adulting, you're like, yo,
Yeah, it's like how to be an adult. Like that's the same thing, and then you have to flip the questions on them. Like, well, how did you become an adult, or how did you get the hairstyle that you have right now today? And it's like,
it was a
well, I did
process.
this for a little, yeah, I did this for a minute. Then I styled, I bleached it. It fell out on the floor, and then I was like, wait, maybe I should do something else. Then like it's a journey, and all of the decisions that we made, like going to Mexico, like we decided we're gonna stay maximum 6 months, and we're going on over 2 years now, and so it's still like even then we didn't know about. I had no idea even what online teaching was, and then I also thought you had to speak another language. So
Yeah.
there, then I thought you had to pay $1,000 for a TEFL certificate, and then I thought this, and then so like I learned things as I went that I would have never learned had
Had
I
you not
not
gone.
shown up. Yeah,
Exactly.
like just saying, I'm gonna do this. Like you don't know, like same with the job, you don't know, like, and we think that we have all these things figured out through like, oh, if I go to college, this is gonna happen. Sorry, this is what's gonna happen, and then I'm going to get a job, and then I'm going to figure it out. Like then I meet the husband. No, you're gonna go to school, you're gonna get this debt. Then they're gonna call you all the time and call your grandmother talking about they're looking for you, and she's worried. Like these people are looking for you. I'm like, who? She's like Sally. I'm like,
And
don't
and
worry about
and
Sally.
truthfully, because we brought this up before, how many people have you crossed paths with abroad that have degrees or multiple degrees and don't use them, but they're in a
Exactly.
net ton of debt?
Yeah, it's over $100,000 in debt, and that they said that this was if they did this, and they would do this, and then would do that, and then that. You don't know nothing, so just figure it out, and just have a card and say, "Look, some shit go down. I'm gonna use this card, and we go home." And like that's it. But other than
Yeah,
that,
you could
you
always
don't
go
know
home.
anything. You have no idea. Like we had a hurricane, a whole entire hurricane hit Houston before we left, washed this like almost washed the city out. We could not leave. We were trapped over water. Like the freeway overpass was underwater, and we're like, wow, this is a lot. Still, we're like, we're still going, But my car that I wanted to turn back in, I was like, F it, it'll be a repo. I don't care. That's American credit. I don't think they're gonna ask for it in Mexico. I'll figure it out later. Ended up getting my car totaled in like so I was able to get a check and write the car off, and then got unemployment for a job that I had already quit, but then because of the hurricane I got money for that. And so yes, it was a horrible hurricane and other people lost things, and that's but still to say like even with that happening, I
With the
had no
tragedy,
idea
there
how
is
that would work in
sometimes,
my
yeah.
favor, but it also worked because I wanted those things. I said, yo, I don't want this car anymore. Oop, I thought I was going to have to put sugar in the tank. Didn't have to. It just was totaled out.
Lord have mercy.
Totaled out. I was
Lord,
like, this is
I
amazing.
love
No
her.
insurance fraud. Okay, because I don't do that.
We
I
didn't
just got
add
off
that
probation.
to
So I
the
wasn't trying
probation
to do
list, thank
that.
God.
Cut that part out. So yes. Just to say you never know, and like somebody else may have looked at that situation and be like, girl, this is a hurricane happening, this is a sign, not to go, we're stuck, we can't go on this date. It's like, no, we're gonna go once this water go down. So I think it's really about
it's
mindset
the thing
again.
about it is like there's never a right time. That
Right.
doesn't
To do
exist
anything.
really. All you need is about I said like 70% of the information, and then just roll with it.
Yeah, and then if you got 7% of the information, roll and figure it out along the way, because you
Along the way.
70% of the information
Yeah,
may be wrong as hell.
Yeah, it might not
Shit.
apply to you.
yeah. If you
But
need
not,
information,
that's the
I say
thing
just
too.
send it.
Yeah, I stopped telling people like, "Oh, should I move here?" I'm like, I don't know where you should move.
Exactly.
Some people love what I'm not. I don't know you. Like
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know that this place works for
For
me and
me.
what my desires are and what I need and what my things are like. But as far as other people's their needs and their lifestyle I don't have to. No,
Girl,
I
amen.
don't
I
know.
get
Figure it out.
tons of those messages. And it's just like you have to understand what works for you. I can't tell you. I can give you based on I say my opinion, what I see because of what I experienced. But I haven't experienced so much that I can give you all of the information. I've only experienced literally a percentage, a small percentage of what it's like to live in certain places. I've only lived in this many places, and these are the places I lived.
Yeah, and
So I
these
can
people
only
have totally different
exactly. I say I don't like Medellin, Colombia.
lifestyles.
People
Yeah.
are like, I love Medellin. I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? Like I didn't like Vietnam. You living in Vietnam, you know? Because I went to Da
Right.
Nang. It's funny that you're in Da Nang because I did all my research on Da Nang, and that was where I was originally going to move when I left the States. But I landed in
Oh
Chiang
wow.
Mai, where I ended up having, for instance, as a roommate, meeting you, meeting this whole community of people that I maybe would not have crossed paths with had I went directly to Vietnam. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
my journey got shifted the way it was supposed to because I we were supposed to cross paths for whatever the reason was. You understand what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like no matter how much research you do, 70%,
matter.
80%, it doesn't mean it's
really
going
matter.
to work out that way. So that's my testimony to say I sat
It's
for
like trying to
hours.
research life or anything else. We just can't do it.
I sat
Yeah,
for
Just
hours
live.
about Da Nang. I knew nothing about Chiang Mai, but Chiang Mai ended up becoming home for
Right.
2 years.
That's why I believe, like, no matter what, like,
Thing.
there's something bigger than us that's doing something behind the scenes, and we try to interrupt that as much as possible, but we just need to let that go. You know what I mean?
The control, and it's usually the control, trying to have control over it. This is how I want it to happen instead of saying, just have your way with me, like, I mean, wrap it
Positivity,
up, but, like,
mm-hmm.
just have, just have, like, go with the flow and
Surrender.
not try to hold on, like, yeah, surrender is really it. Because so many times we try to hold on to things and we're supposed to leave these places and, like, we try to stay, and not even places if in Chiang Mai or Vietnam, like, places of trauma or, mindset, and just can't, the place of
But
can't,
yeah. Yeah,
the
yeah,
place of,
everybody does it.
yeah.
Everybody does it. We all do it, and even though we're speaking, we have those situations and those times when that happens, because a lot of times there's always the but I have to do this, but I have to do that. And a lot of times, and we talked about this plenty of times, the 3 F's: family, fear, and finance. You know what I mean? It's usually somebody in your family that's holding you back. It's usually finances that you think are holding you back, and it's the fear that's definitely holding you back.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like you have to kind of go through those 3 and really pick out, like, I can't allow this to hold me back. We have a friend who has a son who is autistic, and he's in his 30s, and she's always like, but I want to move, but I can't. And the funny thing about it is she went on a trip and he did something or whatever. She goes, I never knew that he was able to do those things. And I'm like, you wouldn't have known had you not let him try.
Yeah.
God damn it. You gotta let them walk their paths in order for you to be able to walk yours. You cannot try to control. You get what I mean? And it was, she let go, and she was like, I think I can be gone a lot longer because he is more sufficient than I thought, because she's always there. So it's kind of like,
Yeah, we do that with our kids, and we do that with ourselves.
we do it with everyone that we care about, right? Because we're looking at that as love, but sometimes it's holding them back.
Yeah.
But it's also a sacrifice too, knowing that this is still a sacrifice. Like, I haven't seen my mom. When I talk to my mom, I'm like, oh girl, I don't even say see you later anymore. It's like, okay girl, talk to you later, knowing, like, I don't see her often, or missing my brother's graduation, or my grandmother dying while I was abroad, or not, calling in and for Thanksgiving versus, being there. So it still is a sacrifice, this lifestyle or whatever we're doing. And so I think it's also, like, focusing on the values and what you really value, because for some people it is like family is like number one. So maybe you just do this a little bit, but yeah, really, I think focusing on what's important to you. And know that there's still a sacrifice in it. Like, you may have to go
There's
without this
always
a little more.
sacrifice.
It's a sacrifice, For me, like, my thing is I'm more fearful of not showing up in life, like dying with all of this inside of me. Like, can you imagine I died with all of these jokes? And people are like, yo, I died and I come back and I'm like haunting people with jokes, try to whisper jokes to them. And they like, what? Why did you say this shit when you were alive? Like, dying with all this in me it's more fearful than like trying it and failing. And they're like, oh, bitch, you're not that funny. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I thought I was. My mama said I was. And it's like, just going about your day. You're like, okay, try something different. You know, it's no different from me starting a vegan cookie business and realizing, bitch, I don't like bacon. And I'm not consistent enough. You know how consistent you need to be with bacon? Like, it's a science. And so, but I tried it, you know, made 200 dozen of cookies and was like, yeah, this is not what I want to do.
Bacon isn't everybody's thing. Girl.
I thought you meant bacon. I was like, wait, we have any more?
Oh,
bacon
vegan.
I know. That's why I was like, wait, she don't eat bacon, so how is this?
Bacon. Oh yeah, I'm not making no more. But yeah, vegan, bacon. Yeah, baking. Anything. You just try it and you realize, like, oh.
Wait. So okay, Speaking of, that was a good segue because you don't eat meat. Are you considered a vegan or are you vegetarian?
No, I'm not considered anything. I'm Jazz. And I'm always just journeying through things. But yeah, I was plant-based for a long time, and now I'm just eating healthily. But it is harder kind of sometimes, and I've had some digestive issues. Yeah, just trying to eat a lot. It's like been really, and it's like, I feel great. It's like, bitch, you gassy and you bloated. Stop telling me that you great eating these cauliflower wings. Like, I felt very bloated and stuff, and also very judgmental about things. Like my mindset had really changed, and so it worked for the time being. But now for me, I don't do it anymore.
Girl, I can relate because when I was in Japan, I told you I was. When I was in Japan, I was a vegetarian, did the vegan thing, but I think because of that, and then just trying to figure things out, I messed up my GI systems, and now I have this gluten thing going on. I can barely eat a lot of things now. I'm struggling.
My stomach right now. I'm like, good thing this is not in person. Peppermint tea, chamomile tea all the damn time. I be bloated. Like,
it might be gluten. Not to get off topic,
but a lot of the vegetables do it. Like, so onions. Cauliflower, broccoli, all the vegans eat. Talking about it's chicken wings. That is cauliflower, okay? Not no damn chicken wing. It tastes like buffalo cauliflower. It's good, but it ain't no chicken wing. Nothing tastes like a chicken wing but a chicken wing. But
well, I asked because when we went to Vietnam, at the point that I had went, I wasn't eating meat. I wasn't eating pork or beef, right? But I felt that was really difficult in Vietnam.
Yeah, so I incorporated like fish again, and then chicken here, but like it's fine. But my thing with vegetarian food, a lot of times it's so much soy, so heavily soy, that I feel like a little meat is not as bad as this fucking crap. So it's growing now. There's a lot more vegan restaurants that are nice that are coming. You know, like Da Nang has changed probably a whole lot since the last year, like when you were here. But it is more difficult. It wasn't as easy as when I was in Chiang Mai. So I did notice here that it was difficult. But another reason why I started to incorporate other foods was because of my reactions to so many things. It was like, I don't know if this is IBS or what, but it's like, this is not okay.
I think you just have to listen to your body.
You really do.
Vegetarian meat thing, like, you need to listen to your body and do what your body feels right for your body.
And knowing that I had brainwashed myself too, because there's so many documentaries on this. You're gonna have to edit all this shit. But there's so many documentaries. I'm like, this podcast is 3 days long. But yeah, the vegan recipe, like documentaries, you'll sit there and watch them and be like, oh my God, I'm never eating nothing. You on Facebook talking about y'all eating chicken abortions and shit. And you're brainwashing yourself again. Like, it's propaganda, you know? Yeah. And if you're constantly like just giving one side of it, you know, it is easy to persuade yourself that this is the best thing ever while you gassy as fuck, uncomfortable, bloated.
I'm struggling.
I'm like, oh my God. And I'm married. I'm like, I can't. I'm like, we're gonna have to get separate places because I just need a place I can fart in good. Like, this is what's going on.
I don't eat any vegetables because I just, or I don't eat a lot of the carbs either because it gasses me up.
Yeah. For days.
That's the other side of adulting, guys. You learn more about what your body can and cannot.
Cannot do. Yeah, and that's what it's funny because growing up, my grandmother and aunt were always like, no onions. She's from New Orleans, so she can not speak, but she's like, no onions. And I would be like, what? Onions are great. And so now I'm like, I see why she's like, no onion, like, no, mushroom, like, it's really, yeah. So no,
I'm
I
with
just
you on
eat
that
what's
one.
best for me. I have to kind of, make a lot of foods myself to figure out, like, because I can't eat onions and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a little more difficult here, but it is growing. So if people are plant-based, and they're in Vietnam, it's okay. It's growing. It's not impossible at all.
Yeah.
Well, Jazzie, oh my gosh,
We could talk to you forever.
forever.
Yeah,
But
fine,
we're
yeah,
not,
we
we're not
can.
gonna have 3 days worth of podcasting
We gotta
with
move
you.
on with
So
our lives.
we're gonna move on. But seriously, we want to say thank you so much. We're so happy that we finally got the opportunity to sit with you and talk, because there were so many great messages and points in this conversation
Yeah.
that I know our audience will take, hold to and resonate with a lot of people, because it is real life, right? You're not sitting there like, oh, I'm this guru. Like, no, you're like, no, this is the shit I'm going through. And that's what makes it so beautiful, is your real story. So we wish you nothing but success with From Probation to Passports. I can't wait for it to be finished.
I hope to catch a show one day.
Oh yes,
need to
I'll be
catch a
all
show.
over. So yeah,
Yeah.
and definitely 20 shows in 20 cities this year. So let me know. Go to my site and fill out the request form. And there's no request form yet, but I will do one. And
That's
tell me what cities. But
manifestation right there.
yeah, no, seriously, I really want to do a tour. So
All right, yeah, keep us posted.
get on it.
Keep us posted.
Yeah.
Definitely.